Family, I need you to lean in with me for a moment, because what I'm about to say is not ordinary, it's not casual, it's not something you stumble across by accident. When this message finds you, it won't be because you were scrolling or searching. It will be because heaven orchestrated a divine interruption in your timeline. There are some of you who have been wrestling in silence, carrying weight behind a smile, praying prayers you weren't sure God even heard. But this word is the kind that shows up right before God flips the script. 3 days before everything shifts, God sends a whisper, and that whisper has found you today. I can feel it in my spirit that someone watching this has been fighting battles nobody else sees. You've been pushing through closed doors, holding on to faith by a thread, wondering why the breakthrough is taking so long. But let me tell you something. God doesn't move late. He moves precisely. And when destiny is about to collide with your life, heaven sends confirmation before manifestation. That's why this message didn't miss you. That's why it showed up even though you weren't looking for it. It's because you are standing on the edge of a turning point that will redefine everything you thought you knew about God's timing. So as you hear my voice right now, I want you to get ready in your heart. Not because I'm speaking, but because God is aligning something behind the scenes that your eyes can't see yet. The pressure you feel is not punishment, it's preparation. The delay you've been frustrated by is not denial, it's divine choreography. And the reason this video found you right now is because you are 3 days away from the clarity, from breakthrough, from the shift you've been praying for. Lean in, stay open, and let God speak. Listen to me. This is not an accident. You did not stumble on this video by chance. I need you to understand that there is a hand bigger than your circumstances that is arranging details on your behalf. And what you are seeing right now is the whisper before the roar. For some of you, life has been a long string of almost and not yets. You've had doors cracked, promises delayed, and prayers that felt like they rode up against a glass ceiling. And I want you to hear me when I say, that glass ceiling is being repositioned. What you have called coincidence has been a setup. What you have brushed off as timing or bad luck has been God quietly, deliberately placing you 2 steps away from an open door. 3 days from now is not a random calendar mark. It is the hinge. It is the moment the narrative begins to bend in your favor. You've been carrying weight that is seen by some and unseen by many. You carry doubts like heavy coats in the heat, and you've been apologizing to God for being tired when really you were being prepared. Preparation doesn't come with fanfare. Preparation is the quiet work that happens backstage while the world watches the main event. There is a refinement happening in you that is not comfortable and not convenient, and because of that refining, your capacity for the blessing that's coming is being expanded. I know you want an immediate miracle, and I know your faith has been stretched thin, but pressure does something in you. Pressure makes you pray in a new register. Pressure makes you unclench from things you were holding on to that were not yours to carry. Pressure separates your hands from what is dead so your hands can be free to receive what is alive. You are standing on the threshold of a shift, and God is giving you 3 days of alignment before the shift shows up so that you will recognize the voice of what is about to enter your life and not mistake it for anything less than divine. Hear me, the enemy will try to make those 3 days feel like forever. He will try to stretch small doubts into sermon-sized fears. He will remind you of past failures, of the times you were overlooked, of the doors that shut in your face. But those reminders are his smoke, not God's signal. When God is about to move, he gives signs to steady your heart. Those signs may come as a sudden peace in your chest, a conversation that lands with an answer you've been praying for, money that arrives precisely when the bill is due, or a person who steps into your path with exactly what you need. The sign might be subtle, an unexpected compliment, a job lead sent by a friend you haven't spoken to in years. A scripture you've been carrying that suddenly reads like someone wrote it for your situation. Pay attention to the small things. The small things are the breadcrumbs that lead to the banquet. I need you to remember who you are in the middle of this. You are not defined by the single worst day you've had. You are not limited by the mistakes you regret. You are not stuck because of someone else's inability to see your worth. You are a child of the Most High, and children of God do not miss their appointed time. There is a timing in heaven that surpasses human plans, and it is precise. It is not late, it is not early, it is exact. If you have been asking for confirmation, if you have been aching for a sign that you are on the right road, consider this moment the confirmation. Consider these next 3 days your window to prepare your heart, your mind, your home, your schedule, your yeses and your nos. Clear the clutter, make space, reconcile what needs reconciling. Forgive where you must forgive. Do the housekeeping of the soul so that when the blessing arrives, there is room to receive it without fear. I know faith can waver when the evidence looks thin. Faith and sight do not always agree. That is where courage comes in. Doing what God is asking even when your eyes are telling you otherwise. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward in spite of fear. These 3 days before the change are not meant for panic. They are meant for posture. How you stand in the waiting determines how you will walk in the winning. Stand with humility, stand with expectancy, stand with preparation. Speak to your discouragement. Tell it the truth about who you are. Speak to your doubts and remind them of the promises you have been given. When you speak life over your circumstances, you shift the spiritual atmosphere around them. Words are powerful. They create. What you confess aloud will begin to form the shape of your tomorrow. Do not underestimate the value of rest in this season. Some of us think preparation looks like frantic activity, as if productivity is the proof of our readiness. But rest is part of preparation too. It's where the soul regains its clarity. In these 3 days, find pockets of silence. Listen. Let the noise of the world fall away long enough for you to hear the cadence of God's voice. He will not always speak in thunder. Often he speaks in a still, small voice that guides decisions with piercing clarity. When the storm of your life has been loud, you learn to shout over it. But God is inviting you to a quiet room where he will reveal the next step. That quiet is not an absence of action. It is an alignment of your spirit with his. And when your spirit and God's spirit are aligned, the blockade breaks. I also want you to guard what you allow into your mind during these 3 days. Your feed, your text, your conversations. Be intentional about them. People will come with opinions, and some of those opinions will sound wise, but are meant to tether you to the old version of yourself. You must protect your peace. Don't give your ear to voices that echo discouragement or nostalgia for what was. Give your ear to voices that call you forward. Surround yourself with those who will speak prophecy into your life, not pity. You are being elevated, and elevation often comes with separation. When God lifts you, he may remove people who are comfortable with the place you were in because they are not ready for where you are going. That can hurt, but is part of refinement. Thank the people who have been with you for the lessons, and then step into the new circle God is forming around you. This is also a season to act on the small assignments that have been waiting for your courage. There is usually one tiny step between you and the door opening wide. Maybe it's a call you need to make, a resume you need to update, a sermon you need to preach over your own life, a class to enroll in, a business pitch to finalize, a relationship to define. Those small steps show God you are ready for the big one. Don't hide behind the enormity of the dream and forget the small duties that prepare you for it. The mustard seed is small, but it becomes a tree. Plant the seeds you can, water what you have, and trust God with the harvest. I want you to think of these 3 days as a sacred rehearsal. Actors don't go on stage without rehearsal. Athletes don't play the championship without practice. You are in rehearsal for a destiny you did not even know you had. Rehearse gratitude. Rehearse humility, rehearse obedience, rehearse praise. Practice receiving what you have been asking for even before it touches your hands. When you practice receiving, your heart begins to match the posture of the blessed. Practice thanking God for things you have not yet seen, and watch how that thanksgiving reshapes your expectation into expectancy. And hear me plainly, miracles do not always manifest the way you imagine. Sometimes the breakthrough looks like a closed door that diverts you to a better path. Sometimes the blessing is not what you wanted, but what you needed. Keep your hands open to God's creativity. He is not limited by your picture. If you think you know the form your miracle will take, be careful. God's goodness often arrives in a costume you didn't expect. Be flexible, not stubborn. Flexibility allows you to receive the unexpected with joy instead of suspicion. When God changes the script, your willingness to adapt will determine how quickly you can step into the new scene. Bring your gratitude with you into these 3 days. Gratitude is like a magnet for mercy. The more thankful you are, the more you see reasons to be thankful. It trains your heart to recognize blessing even when it is small. Gratitude keeps you awake enough to see the angel at the window. It tunes your spirit to recognize what the world calls coincidence and what heaven calls intentionality. So count your small wins. Celebrate the tiny mercies. Tell someone thank you. Send that message. Repay the favor when you can. Blessing flows through circulation, and generosity prepares you to handle greater abundance. Now, I want you to feel the urgency without the anxiety. There is purpose in the timing, and the invitation is clear. Prepare for the shift. Don't spend these 3 days rehearsing old fears. Rehearse your faith. Don't run toward distraction, run toward devotion. Anchor your heart in the promise that God is faithful and that when He moves with authority and with the intention of setting you free. Be willing to leave behind what is comfortable if it keeps you from what is next. Be willing to change your routine if God is calling you to a new rhythm. Sacrificial obedience is often the currency of breakthrough. There is a reason the pressure has been intensifying around you, why the confusion has been louder than usual, why the delays you've been facing have felt heavier than anything you've carried before. It's not because you're failing. It's not because God has forgotten you, and it's certainly not because your life is going backwards. The pressure you're feeling is a sign that something in the spirit is shifting. Heaven does not stay still when breakthrough is approaching. The atmosphere around you begins to tighten. The weight begins to increase, not because you're breaking, but because something is being born. You don't experience this kind of pressure unless God is rearranging the furniture of your destiny. When you feel yourself pressed, stretched, and pulled in ways you can't articulate, that is the evidence that God is reorganizing your life on a level you cannot see yet. You've been asking God to open doors, to move mountains, to send clarity, to break cycles. And He heard you the first time. But what you didn't know is that the clarity you prayed for requires some things to fall apart first. The breakthrough you asked for demands that old structures collapse. Sometimes God answers your prayer by subtracting before He adds. The confusion you're feeling right now is not an attack, it's a transition. When an old season is dying and a new season is forming, your spirit feels the stretch before your mind understands it. That stretching is God pulling you into alignment with what He's prepared for you. The delay you've been frustrated by is God buying you time to mature in the areas you didn't even know needed strengthening. It's grace disguised as waiting. If He gave you the blessing right when you asked for it, you would have taken it into a room you weren't emotionally or spiritually structured to sustain. God loves you too much to bless you into breakdown. Heaven is rearranging things on your behalf, even when it feels like nothing is happening. You are not stuck, you are being positioned. Think of how a chessboard looks right before the winning move. To someone who doesn't understand the game, it looks chaotic. pieces moving everywhere, strategies shifting, opposing forces advancing. It's overwhelming to the untrained eye, but to the one who understands the game, every move is intentional. Every sacrifice has purpose. Every delay is strategic. That's what God is doing in your life. What looks confusing from where you stand is actually divine strategy from heaven's view. The very things you think are blocking you are actually guiding you to the exact place you're supposed to be when the breakthrough arrives. The pressure you've been feeling is also evidence that the enemy feels something coming too. He can't see the future, but he can sense movement in the spirit. So he tries to cloud your discernment with anxiety, panic, and discouragement. He tries to make you think something is wrong with you when something is actually happening for you. He tries to get you to misinterpret the signs so that you step back instead of leaning in. But the enemy's resistance is proof that something in your future is threatening him. If nothing was about to change, he wouldn't bother you. If nothing significant was forming, he wouldn't push this hard. The resistance around you is confirmation that you are getting too close to destiny for the enemy's comfort. And let's be honest, you have been growing in ways you don't even recognize. You've been stretched beyond your comfort, yet here you are. You've been hit with unexpected storms, but you learned how to navigate them with a strength you didn't even know you had. The version of you who started this year would not survive the pressure you're under right now. But the version of you that God is building through this pressure is someone who will not just survive breakthrough, you'll sustain it. Breakthrough is not just about receiving, it's about becoming the person who can handle the responsibility tied to the blessing, becoming the person who can stand in rooms you once felt unqualified for, becoming the person who no longer apologizes for being chosen. Pressure molds you into the vessel that can carry what you prayed for. Delays are not denials, they are divine resets. God is slowing down what you're trying to rush so he can protect you from what you can't see. There are conversations happening about you in rooms you haven't entered yet. There are alignments forming that you didn't ask for. There are hearts being softened, minds being shifted, opportunities being prepared. It's all happening in silence because God does his best work in the shadow. You only see the surface. God sees the foundation being rebuilt. You see time passing. God sees character developing. You see prayers unanswered. God sees the blueprint being finalized. Heaven is not ignoring you. Heaven is arranging the perfect moment for manifestation. You may feel like everything is moving slower than your expectation, but that's because you're comparing earthly time to divine timing. On earth, it looks like a delay. In heaven, it's perfect rhythm. God does not operate in panic. He operates in precision. And when the alignment is ready, when the timing is right, when the breakthrough is matured, he will release it. Suddenly, you will wake up one day and realize that everything God was preparing behind the scenes just collided with your reality. You won't have to force it. You won't have to beg for it. You won't have to fight the same battles you're fighting now. What is coming will come with peace, not pressure. It will come with clarity, not confusion. It will come with confirmation, not guessing. This pressure is not your end. It is your midwife. It is pushing you toward the promise. It is forcing old things out of your system so you can breathe in a new level of purpose. You may feel like you're losing pieces of yourself, but you're actually shedding what can go with you into the next season. God is making room. He's clearing space. He's pruning and refining. You cannot carry the weight of unhealed wounds, old habits, and unhealthy attachments into the season he has prepared. So he's letting pressure reveal what needs to be released. Pain reveals what peace has been trying to heal. Confusion reveals what clarity is on the way to correct. Delay reveals what God is strengthening before he elevates. I want you to understand this deeply. If God is rearranging your life, it means he still expects you to arrive at your destiny. He hasn't given up on you, and he hasn't changed his mind about the promise. Everything you're going through right now is part of the route, not a detour. There are no accidental seasons in God's design. If you're in it, then he intends to use it. Even the things that broke you are being repurposed. Even the relationships that ended are being redirected. Even the opportunities you lost are being replaced. God wastes nothing. The pressure is a tool. The confusion is a teacher. The delay is a shield. And while all of this is happening inside you and around you, heaven is aligning what is ahead of you. Think of this pressure as the tremor before the shift. The atmosphere always changes before the manifestation arrives. Winds pick up before rain. Clouds gather before storms clear the sky. Your spirit feels the tightening before destiny breaks open. Something is coming, and the evidence is in the pressure you're feeling. Something is being released, and the delay is the wrapping paper around the blessing. Something is about to align, and the confusion is simply your old season losing its grip.